We have so much to talk about with today's tier changes. I'll give you guys a quick little breakdown of what we're doing. First, we'll be talking about the usage stats for October and how Landorus just barely survived becoming UU, and also comparing them to the usage stats for last month. Then we'll be talking about the rises of the tiers, what Pokemon moved up in tiers, and we'll also be following that up with what Pokemon moved down. And at the same time, we'll also be going over all the usage stats in general for the tiers and what this means where Pokemon were banned or not. I'll have timestamps down below if you didn't get any of that to make it a little bit easier, and let's jump right into it. So just like last month, King Gambit's number 1 and Great Tusk is number 2, with Golden Go actually swapping with Iron Valiant at this point for number 3 over 4. Of course, with Ursaluna now being banned, Iron Moth was able to move up above Ogerpon, and Gliscor really just trying to take control. Gliscor's actually currently even being suspect tested. I would love to know your thoughts on everything down below, by the way. I don't care if you leave 10 different comments. Just tell me what you think about the tiers, what you think about current OU. I think the most interesting thing to look at is last month, Rillaboom was number 22 in usage, and now it's moved up to number 12. So people are really starting to use Rillaboom offense. Even with the nerf to Grassy Glide, it's not as strong. We are seeing a whole playstyle being once again used. Grassy Seed, Sneasler plus Rillaboom. Offense is basically everywhere. You even see Sneasler moving up from number 20 to number 14. Again, Rillaboom really just enabling all of that. It's a priority metagame, it's a sticky web metagame, it's an offense metagame, it's a stall metagame, it's one of those. Now, the biggest thing that we see here is that Landorus is number 37 at usage, and if you compare it to last time, where Landorus was number 35 at usage, it's just, I need to show you guys how close it was for Landorus to fall down to UU. Like, I need to show you how close it was. In order to be UU, you need to have under 4.52% usage in the OU tier. That's the cutoff for every tier. That's when Pokemon moved down. Landorus's usage was 4.56%. It was 4.56%. It was so close. It's insane. It's insane. It is actually so insane that Landorus was just that close from falling down to UU tier, and this is for a plethora of reasons, right? Landorus lost a lot in this generation, so let's look at Landorus on the side right here, as we do have Pokemon Showdown open. For those that don't know, this is Pokemon Showdown. It's absolutely free. You can use it to build teams and play on the ladder, not in-game, but on the ladder, like you see right here. I'm just showing people, because sometimes people don't know, like you can watch a battle, and you can actually be battling all these. These are random battles. You might have heard of random battles without even having teams. It's just a good way to test stuff. So Landorus lost Defog, so it lost one of its utility, right? It lost one of its utility options there. It lost Knockoff. It lost another utility option, right? And obviously, there is no hidden power. Toxic was a big one too, so it can't even wear down Pokemon that normally it wasn't even supposed to be. So it lost all of its support options. And then if you look at the current OU tier, who's number 2? Who's number 6? Great Tusk is literally being Landorus, being able to set up Stealth Rock and also Rapid Spin in the way. That's the Defog. Also has Knockoff as well. And oh, Hidden Power Ice, introduce you to Ice Spinner. Plus it's getting booster energy boosted if it wants to run that or whatever it is. So a lot of benefits, great stats all around. But you know, maybe you don't want that. You want your other ground flying type, aka Gliscor, which has passive recovery because of Toxic Heal. Can actually set up not only Stealth Rock like Landorus could, but also Spikes and Toxic Spikes if you really want to. Can also Toxic as well. So like right now, this mon is facing so much competition in the OU tier, and there was a point where, I guess we can look at Tinglu as well. Tinglu is similar. Spikes, Whirlwind, Ruination, can actually just, there's so much value out of it. This is a Spikes heavy metagame. There's just so much, because it's very hard to get rid of hazards, as Rapid Spin and Mortal Spin are blocked by Golden Go, and Defog is also blocked by Golden Go as well. So it's a very Spike rid of metagame, and the buff of Tinglu versus Landorus is that like it's a lot harder to KO, right? It's very hard to KO. It actually is guaranteed to do 50% as long as it hits Ruination, 90% of the time to the opponent. So one set that Landorus was running for the longest time, we even saw it in tournaments, at least for a bit, but it was Grass Knot, Earthquake, Smackdown, and yeah, that was it. So sub to on switches, or like Great Tusk, Grass Knot to 2-hit KO it, and things like that. This was a while back though, but at this point in the metagame, Landorus isn't really providing anything, and I actually think it'd be a welcome Pokemon to the UU tier, where I don't think it'd be very good. I also want to say that one of the reasons why Landorus is not that great, even though it's a Terra metagame, right? And you could think, oh well, remember one of the Landorus sets that used to sweep back in the day was Swords Dance, Earthquake, Stone Edge. I cannot spell apparently. I just put EA. Is in the game. Challenge. Okay, anyway. Rock Polish. But what did they take away from Landorus? They took away Rock Polish. So now you can't even use a dual dance set, which I think would be really good, by the way. Forget Stone Edge, right? Just put Terra Blast Fly and run like a mag with it. Like you can't even run a dual dance set to try and use it as a sweeper, which really sucks because Scarf Landorus is not good in the current metagame. And why is Scarf Landorus not good in the current metagame? Well, can I introduce you to Iron Moth and Iron Valiant, who are constantly boosting their speed because of booster energy, right? Shoot, even the fact that the monster's supposed to beat Terra as well, but that doesn't really matter. But the big thing is that Scarf Landorus doesn't really have a place right now because it just can't KO Pokemon that it wouldn't like it'd be able to as well. There's not a lot of Scarfers right now. There's actually not a lot of Scarfers ran in the OU tier. If you look through basically everything, if you go through the entire tier, the only real Scarfers that you may ever see are Enamorous, because it can spam Moonblast and go for Healing Wish, and that's kind of it. In OU, again, you can run Scarf on anything, right? I've seen Scarf Samurai, I've seen Scarf Zapdos, but in terms of what actually is being used on the ladder, the only Scarfmon you might see eventually, and even that's rare, is Enamorous. Because Spec, Sub, all that stuff is just so much better at the moment. And yeah, so Landorus doesn't really have a place. It can't really revenge kill things, and it's kind of just like, okay, that's the fall of Landorus for you. And honestly, I think it'd have similar problems in the UU tier, because I don't think it'd be broken in UU is what I'm trying to say of that. So let's look at the wrong one. Sorry about that. This one. So let's look at UU, right? So UU has some of the best Landorus answers of all time. If it does end up falling, right? We have Tornadus and we have Rotom Wash, two Pokemon that have been literally checking Landorus since all their conceptions, right? On top of that, you have Terra and and you have like Banded Meowscarada as well. So if you're not running Scarf, defensively it'd be fine. Offensively, I don't think it'd be as good basically in that tier because it can't really lock itself into anything. But we'll get more into that as it goes forward. So pretty crazy that we saw the fall of Landorus right there. Like pretty crazy that Alomomola has more usage than Landorus. Has more uses than Landorus. Ceruledge has more uses than Landorus. Blissey and Ogerpon Cornerstone have more uses than Landorus. I'll be honest, I expected Toxapex and Landorus to fall this time, especially because I don't see a lot of Pex even on stall teams. Well, they are running on stall teams, but like they're like not even that great. I feel like Pex is so much easier to take advantage of, and kind of suffers from the same thing. No Scald, no knockoff, no it lost like the ways of dealing with passive Pokemon that it was able to. And then for a while, obviously the AV set was really, really good prior to the DLC metagame. But let's go into the rises real quick. What rose from lower tiers to the higher tiers? So from UUBL to OU, Poltergeisting Mr. Ceruledge has moved up. A lot of offenses are running this thing with Sash, Weak Armor. It just got better. It literally just got better because of Poltergeist. That's legitimately it. Poltergeist actually gives it a good ghost stab now. Obviously, Close Combat was great on it too, and you have the Bitter Blade as well. You don't really have to run Shadow Sneak at the moment. It's such a nice offensive mon that can check Val and check a lot of physical attackers at that, right? There's people also running Destiny Bomb with Focus Sash 2 to get rid of Great Tusk. But it's just a great offensive tool. It's cool to see it walk up. It's being used on offense. I've seen it on Sticky Web as well. I haven't seen Bulk Up as much lately as like it was early metagame, but it's sick to see it rise up. It's just a strong Pokemon. Alomomola rose up to the OU tier. Pretty big considering if you look at the UU tier, it was top 10, right? It was number 8. So this is a pretty big mon for UU to lose. One of the biggest Wish Passers, literally. Right? One of the biggest Wish Passers right there. But it rose up to UU because of the one team by Pinkacross. It was popularized, it hit rank 1, and it was a red card Alomomola with Regenerate, of course, and had Acrobatics to deal with Ogerpon, Wellspring, and it had obviously the Wish, and then it did get great tools this generation in Flip Turn, and it got Scald back. So just a really nice Wish Passer, and it was, honestly, I'm surprised that Thunderous Therian didn't move up to OU as well. Just because it was on the same team, they were both being spammed. But Aloe was being used on more than just that. It's pretty interesting because both Aloe and Milotic, which is actually something that fell under RU, and we'll talk about that in a bit. I'm surprised that Milotic didn't actually get picked up a bit too, because that's something that people were using a lot in tournaments and on the ladder as well. But Alomomola, it's going to be a pretty big loss for the UU tier, especially if you run like stall and certain balances. But definitely, I mean, I think it deserves to be an OU. It's really cool to see Alomomola in OU. I don't think this is, like, I've used it in OU in Generation 6, but it wasn't the, like, the greatest mod. It was just used as a Zard Y-check, and you ran it with Goodra. Like that with Goodra was the Zard Y-check. Goodra was the Zard Y-check, and you wish pass to it. My boy Hugo popularized that. Big shout out to Hugo. Anyway, Heatran moves up from UU to OU. Another really big one, right? Heatran was a really good Pokemon in the UU tier. I don't think it was broken. I think some people thought it was broken. But I personally don't think it was broken. But it was number 2 in usage. One of the more common sets, of course, were the Magma Storm Taunt sets. Typically, you would run the Terra Grass on it. That way, you wall opposing Heatran. Right? You wall opposing Heatran because you have Flash Fire. Earth Power isn't going to do crap. And then you could taunt from there and kind of do whatever you want. You could even run Terra Blast if you really wanted to OHKO. Something like Rotom or something like Gastrodon as well. Leftovers or Air Balloon was good too. Air Balloon meant you can come in 100% on opposing Heatrans since they can't pop your Balloon. Air Balloon was really nice. It actually got a lot better too. Like, it was always a good Pokemon, but it got a lot better from Garganacci, aka Garganical, being banned from the UU tier as well. And it was just a big presence in the UU. It was one of the best, if not top 5. It was, I mean, obviously top 2 in usage, but in my opinion, the best mons in UU are Meowscarada and Tornadus, right? I think there's, even though they're only number 3 and 4, I think they're number 1 and 2 in terms of viability. Obviously, Iron Tread's number 1. Yeah, makes sense. But Tran being gone, absolutely crazy for the UU tier, right? It opens up a lot for you. First off, Scizor gets a lot better. I really think Flash Fire, Heatran was damn near almost better than, excuse me, Flame Body Heatran was damn near almost better than Flash Fire. And obviously just its ability, like if you Terra Grass and something like Barraskewda, because Rain was super freaking good, right? Rain was super freaking good. So being able to Terra Grass in front of Barraskewda and burn it with Flame Body or Will-O-Wisp or anything like that was really big. I also think that Tornadus gets even better with this mon being banned because this was probably the number 1 steel type that could switch into it. Yes, obviously Tornadus can go for knockoff and you lose your recovery and leftovers, but at least Tornadus, you resist the Bleak Wind and you're immune to Heat Wave, whereas Iron Treads gets knocked off and then gets Heat Waved as well. So really, really big loss. Something that also checked Meowscarada as well and Scizor, number 4, number 6 right there for a reason. So very big loss for the UU tier. And of course, in terms of OU, why it moved up, with grassy terrain being extremely common, Iron Moth being extremely common too, like being able to check both of those, punishing Rillaboom on switches and things like that, punishing Libero Cinderace on U-turns, being able to burn them, check to Dragapult. Like, obviously, Gliscor can sit on this Pokemon all day and night, right? Especially with Toxic Heal and Terra Water. But still, it's nice to see Heatran be used up. And it's crazy because I actually don't think it was broken at all in the U tier. I know some people wanted to vote ban on it and then it ended up just staying. Some people didn't. But I know for a fact that, or at least not for a fact, I play a lot of high level UU, high ladder rather. I don't want to say high level because I don't know if you consider it high level versus it's not necessarily tournaments, it's ladder. But I also think a lot of ladder players are extremely good too in tournaments. Shout out to PDT, just to name one, right? Lily as well, just name the second one. But yeah, pretty big. Nice little check to Zapdos in the tier. It's cool to have Heatran finally be back. It was wild that it fell. Kind of pulled that whole Tyranitar thing, right? When Tyranitar fell to UU and then immediately next month it rose back up to the OU tier. So Grimmsnarl rises up from the NU to the UU tier. This is pretty big for NU because Grim was so freaking annoying. Just being it usually ran heavy duty boots and would parting shot around, crunch, sucker punch, spirit break. Basically just a good check to everything in that tier. It's also a mon that doesn't look like it should ever be NU just based on the way it looks. Like, it looked like a Venom type mon, like just powerful, right? But I mean, we got some demons in lower tiers as well. When you think about like even Tornadus at one point was NU, but it moved up to UU, and it's for the reason exactly that you're thinking, right? Light Clay, and then it just runs dual screen reflect, light screen, taunt, parting shot. Sometimes you have the attack if you want. But that was the big, that's it, right? UU is a combination of, UU is really weird right now. UU kind of feels like OU, or OU has been in previous generations. So you have screens being good, you have rain being good, but balance is actually also really good in UU too. So it's a good mix of everything. Stall is good too. It's a good mix of everything. So dual screens always ran in UU. This is another big like loss for the UU tier because screens plus SD Scizor were good. Sandy Shock, Grimmsnarl, typically on a type of team. You have mons like Set Up Low Kicks. You have Iron Hands as well. All mons that just were really, really strong. Garchomp got banned, right? UUBL. But crazy, right? That mon did not end up going back up to OU. Nobody was using that mon in the OU tier. But a lot of Yu-Yu Mons very much take advantage of this. Breloom, Conk, Nasty Plot Torn, Calmine Enamorous, Nasty Plot Dragon, right? So it's just, Quavo, Sinistra. Sinistra's is another mon that we're talking about that I thought was going to be a lot worse when Garg went down, but ended up still being a pretty good mon. So yeah, just the dual screener. Big loss for the NU tier. I'm actually kind of happy though that it is out of NU. Someone who plays a lot of NU. That mon was number 4 in usage, right? 20% of teams. I do think though that with this thing being banned, Goodra might end up being too much. Of course, I have to. That's just like looking at top 10 right here, because again, I play a lot of NU. I play a lot of PU. I play a lot of UU on the channel. I play NU and PU with Rabia mainly, but I play a lot of those tiers. So yeah, Grimmsnarl being gone is pretty big for the NU tier. That was something that could check Jolteon with Sucker Punch, check Goodra based on natural stab, and just parting shot around. So that's a huge loss, man. That's a huge loss for the Apps NU tier right there. And then from PUBL to NU, you have Toxicroak and Glastrier. That is just, I mean, Toxicroak is just good. Life Orb is really good. I think Toxicroak, a lot of that also has to do with if we look back at the usage stats right here for the NU tier. But again, Boosted Sucker is nice. Something that's faster than Goodra, something that's faster than Tatsugiri and threaten them. SD Ice Punch deals with Gligar. So it's just a good mon that has good, like being immune to Tatsugiri's water move because the dry skin is very big. So yeah, makes sense. Glastrier is also, I've been seeing it a lot in tournaments. I know Frieza was using it too, but I know a lot of other people are using it on the ladder as well. So I think that's how it moves up. So cool to see that mon and going. I think this is one of the biggest changes, not necessarily for the NU tier, but for PU. So Sandslash moves up from NU, or excuse me, from PU to NU, and this is number 1 in PU, the number 1 most used mon, literally. And I've used this mon so much when I'm showing off mons as well. It's just, it was the number 1 most used mon in the tier, and it's an incredible mon that just clicks Spike. I like Focus Sash Lee with Terra Ghost, right? That's really good. Of course, you also have your support ground type. This is kind of like what Sandaconda, Terra Ghost, sorry. You also have your support ground type, so you know your Stealth Rock, your Spike, your Knockoff, your Rapid Spin, your Earthquake, whatever you want, Knockoff. So you have it as lead, which is really good as a lead. You have it as your mid game as well, if you really wanted to do that. But if you also look at PUs, it was one of the best enablers because it was so easy to get a patch with this. I think that Whiscash can obviously take its spot in terms of setting up patches and stuff like that, but it's a pretty big loss for the tier. It also meant that if you look at Hippo, like Hippopotas plus Sandslash was something that was ran occasionally too. I know that's also something that people were running with Lycanroc in NU as well, so that's part of the reason too. But it's just a good spiker. It's a good spiker. Being pure ground, you can spin. It gives you something that like Sandaconda couldn't do, right? And which is again hazards and everything, but a really big loss for the PU tier in my opinion. So now let's look at the drops for the tiers. First off, we have Empoleon. Oof, man, what a mon. So Emp had a spot in OU, right? Emp was solid in OU for a minute. Oh, can I just give a big shout out to Rillaboom, by the way, who is number 8 in Ubers, and also when it comes to the actual tier as well, it's number 23. Crazy, right? With Sticky Web plus Terra. Like when a metagame is pure offensive, it's crazy what it could do. But Empoleon was a mon that had Roost this generation, got Flip Turn, which is awesome, right? Even has Haze and stuff like that too. I just want to say that like while I can check Iron Valiant's Moonblast and Dragapult's Shadow Ball and also has a competitive, I kind of feel like this fad of Empoleon kind of fell off, right? Like the fad fell off, like it was popular. It was like them rubber bands we had back in the day. I don't know if anybody remember them bands that were really cool, different colors. There were some weird things with them bands. Like if I break it, it means I have to sleep with you under a white blanket or something. I don't know what the hell we were talking about in middle school, man. What's wrong with us? But y'all know what I'm talking about? Tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me I might be crazy. Whatever. If you think I'm crazy, leave a like. And subscribe. But I remember. It was like the bands. Anyway, Empoleon was able to check things like Iron Moth and could check things like Iron Valiant. Of course, if it's not mixed with Close Combat or Terra Electric Thunderbolt. But I think the main reason being is that people started to use, I want to say in terms of SPDF, like if I want a special wall, my Lodic ended up being a bit better I think that was because of Marvel Scale being one, right? So it could actually raise its defense if it gets status by a burn or anything like that. But also, I want to say the biggest thing was, while Empoleon could shrug off hits, it couldn't really threaten something back with a KO. Even if it could shrug off hits, like even if it was flip turning around and doing things like that. Also, the metagame is super offensive this mon, especially with grassy terrain and everything running around. You can run leftovers on it if you want to. Heavy duty boots as well. Spikes metagame is pretty big. Like you can't. It's kind of hard to take advantage of your competitive when it's a spikes metagame, so you want to run boots, right? So like even in this regard, I'd rather have like a Marvel Scale Milotic in that. But Milotic is also something that just started really popping up in popularity again, and the biggest difference is this one can scald, so it actually can get passive recoil and passive damage, and also Haze is one of the moves it can run too. If it doesn't want to run Miracle, it can run Haze as well. But it has Recover versus Roost, same exact thing. It does have access to Flip Turn, but it doesn't use it most of the time. But Scald was the big thing. Like I think if Empoleon still had Scald, it'd be something that would be hella used still in OU. That's not to say that I think it's a bad mon. I mean, it's just like it just barely fell off, right? It just barely fell off, but it really can't check as much. The steel typing is cool for resistances to Fairy, but like being weak to Great Tuskathy and neutral to like Cinderace's attack are pretty big for this Pokemon. So I think that like a lot of people, I know that a lot of people are starting to use Milotic more, but it's just cool to see that Empoleon is was used at a point, at least in the tier. But then we have Torkoal. Torkoal ends up falling down to UU, which is really interesting because I think that Ninetales is actually pretty solid in the UU tier, at least for Sun. So yeah, Torkoal fell down. I honestly don't think that Sun is that good in... Well, one, losing Roaring Moon is big, but Roaring Moon was not banned for that long to really kill this thing's usage. I think the fact that it's a sticky web metagame, so obviously that messing with your boost as well. I think the fact that core changes everywhere as well for like hazards and everything like that. We have Iron Moth everywhere too. Iron Moth can solo Sun in itself, like literally can solo Sun itself. Same thing with Val. Like them two can solo Sun by themselves if they really want to. If they get the if Iron Moth gets the boost right, it's Jover. If Iron Val, Terra Electric, Sun, Terra, Water, Walking Wake, and Thunderbolts, it's Jover. But also you have competition with Aurora Veil teams, and again, Sticky Web teams are everywhere. It's either that or Stall. It's literally some variation of offense, some Spikes offense or Stall. And I just don't think that, and every single offense is going to have a one booster energy mon at least, right? It's going to have either Val or Moth, and that's just so hard. That's so hard for Sun to deal with. That is so hard for Sun to deal with. Especially now that it's lost Roaring Moon, which is the mon that's faster than both. They get the speed boost, right? So Torkoal ends up falling down to the UU tier. I think it'll be fine in UU. Ninetales is okay. Sun is okay in the UU tier. It's not anything crazy. Rain is the more oppressive one of the weathers. But Torkoal being slower than Pelipper makes a difference. Also being able to actually eat 2 hits from Barraskewda makes a difference as well, though Barraskewda will always flip turn anyway, so Torkoal comes in, gets a stun up, and Pelipper comes back out. But being slower than Pelipper is pretty big because you can actually set up, you both lead off, right? Pelipper comes out, sets up the rain, Torkoal comes out, sets up the sun, and sun is up, right? And then you can get up rocks and go from there. I do think rain is just too oppressive for this mon, but I do think this makes sun a little bit more viable in the tier. Just barely, though, just barely, because, I mean, not too many great Sun abusers when you look at it. I could see Sun even falling down even more if it really wants to. I mean, you got Slitherwing right in RU. There's no Walking Wake here, thankfully. You got Ape that could do something too. It's just weird. It doesn't feel like a Sun meta, right? Obviously, Arcanine, assuming Arcanine is cool. Armarouge is cool too. But I would rather use like Psychic Terrain if I'm gonna use those guys. Not Arcanine, but yeah. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if I don't feel like Sun is very good. It probably is better now that Heatran's gone though, because you can actually use your fire moves, but that didn't stop Slitherwing anyway, right? I don't know. It just doesn't feel great. I could be wrong though, and maybe Torkoal will fix it a lot, especially with both Alomomola plus Heatran being gone. And then yeah, from UU to RUBL, poor Gyarados, Hawlucha, and Haxorus being gone, which is really funny because like I feel like the Gyarados would be something that's super benefited from current UU, right? Because, or UU before rather. And that's because the, let's look at these. So, like, Gyarados is good into this, right? You have your Terra, maybe Grass, and that's how you deal with Rotom. But if you Terra Grass, you get U-turn on. I think opposing Terra. I don't know. Gyarados is one of the mons that always benefits from Terra, or not just Terra, but every single thing, right? Dynamax, Mega Evolution. It always benefited from everything that a generation came with. And I'm sure generation like 10 comes and they give Pokemon the power to hold 6 items or whatever they're going to do with Pokemon going forward. It could just do better. But I mean, when it was in the metagame, Garg was in the metagame, right? Saltcure was Garg with Terra Steel, or Terra Fairy, or Terra Water. Just Jover. Just straight up Jover. Rotom being on every team, so you have to Terra in order to beat it. You either take rocks damage, or if you are running on dual screens, you run Moxie, and sometimes you still run leftovers of Moxie in there, so you're taking rocks in that case. I just think it's a little bit harder for Gyarados to get it going. Same thing with like Lucha. Lucha on like Psychic Terrain was cool. Haxorus as well. SD Scale Shot was cool, but Haxorus in its case, like it had Garchomp to compete with before it got banned. There are mons that'll definitely still find usage in the tier. They're just not that great right now. All right, so some crazy changes, and this has a lot to do with power creep, right? Has a lot to do. Let's look at the top 10 of UU, right? If I didn't tell you that was UU, the only odd Pokemon there in top 10 is literally Scizor. Every other mon you can justify in OU at some point or another. Right? The only odd mon out is Scizor, and if Scizor still had like Roost, it'd be a different story, or a Mega Evolution. But every other mon in top 10 of UU, you can look at and think, oh wow, that's an OU Pokemon, right? If I put the O instead of the U there, you think that's OU, right? And then you look at the UU to RU, and look at these mons all falling down. Besides Tyranitar, rest in peace, bro. Back to RU. So let's talk a little bit about it. Chandelure is not that great in the UU tier. It unfortunately. It's not that it's not that great. It's just that as a special breaker, it's slow. It's so slow. It's so freaking slow. It was so freaking slow. It was just not the best thing to use. And with Rain, it doesn't do anything you fight Rain. It wasn't good into Garg as well, especially if because Garg, if it Terra Waters, right, the only thing you have for it is Energy Ball. Wasn't great into that. Chandelure doesn't do that much for the NU tier itself. But if you look at RU now, shoot, special breaker there. I mean, I got Armarouge's competition from a special fire / that. Espeon is a special attacker. I mean, I don't see why. I mean, the Tyranitar is there now, specifically. And even though Tar didn't have enough usage in the UU tier, and again, a lot of that has to do with Rain being as good as it did, and just the amount of oppressive types that we had, right? Torn can U-turn out on Tar, and Tar can't punish it, or it gets knocked off, and then it U-turns out. Rotom just Will-O-Wisp and does forever. Meow just does forever, and Iron Tread just eats forever every hit, right? Mon falls off. So, anyway, if you look at the stats for the RU tier, though, I mean, Chandelure looks pretty good into the top 10 of RU. Looks pretty decent in top 10 of RU. I will say that Chestnut looks a little bit cooler as well. Being able to check Crocodile, Bisharp, Mimikyu with your Terra, Slitherwing as well. I like it. I like it a lot. Iron Thorns. Like, Chestnut actually looks really sick in the RU tier. So I'm hoping that it gives it some sort of viability there. Definitely will. A Spiker as well, which is pretty cool. That's not like Fortress. That's Fortress number 8. That's wild. That's wild, the Fortress number 8. I know that's crazy. That, damn, Spin has to be really hard down there because, I mean, now they got Cyclizar and Donphan. Cyclizar, I think, will have a great place in the RU tier as a fantastic spinner when all is said and done. Actually being able to get rid of the hazards in general is really nice. Good speed tier as well. Very good speed tier, too. Yeah. Legitimately a very good speed tier. Looking at, like, all you have is Fortress and Toedscruel. I'm pretty sure Toedscruel was whatever. But Cyclizar is a nice little spinner for the tier. I think in terms of regenerator knockoff support mon, Tornadus is just way better than UU, which kind of like leads towards Cyclizar falling down. Yes, you have Rapid Spin, but I mean, why would I use that when I have the God Iron Treads to easily click Rapid Spin? It has hazard control there too. Yeah, that mon ends up going straight down. 2, we have Diplin falling down from UU to RU. That mon is just going to keep falling, honestly. Maybe with Sticky Hold, you can run... Like, I used that mon, obviously, when it came out, and I was very excited about it. And, I mean, you can justify some fun Terra fight blast for Bisharp, and it does check Crocodile pretty well, too, but... I'm sure you can get it to work with some sort of spike shuffling set, just like we did in OU. But the biggest one out of this list so far is definitely Donphan. It gives you a viable Stealth Rocker, a viable knockoff one, a viable one that can check both Bisharp and Crocodile, can rapid spin away the hazards, and just offensively, just a nice little staple for like, I think it's going to be a great RU staple. Heavy duty boots, obviously you can keep your sturdy as well, so this is going to be big. I mean, why use Donphan and UU when it was top 10 in UU for a point, but then Iron Treads came down, which was like the combination of Donphan plus Tinkaton, which is also why Tinkaton's down there, but we'll get to that in a bit. Pheasantipity falls down to the RU tier. I'm hoping that it's, I don't know, I'm hoping that its typing kind of helps it out. It's weird though, like it doesn't even look that good into top 10 at all. It can U-turn, it can spread poisons, which are whatever, right? It just, I guess you can run Terra Blast Fight to deal with Bisharp too. I don't know. It's a weird mon that, like, as a fairy, I feel like the NCU does more for you, but some sort of Taunt Toxic set could be pretty cool as well. Hippo falls down to the RU tier. Santa was just not very strong in UU at all, right? Hippo can't really mess with Tornadus, Meowscarada, and Rotom, which were top 3, 4, 5. If it's Air Balloon Heatran, it trapped it and just knocked it out with 2 Magma Storms. Iron Treads knocks it off and gets progress and spins on it later. Alomomola Wish passes. Hippo losing Toxic, pretty big for that mon in general. So ends up falling down. Rain is really good as well in the tier. I think Hisui and Lilligant's going to be low-key broken. I don't think I can see it being not broken just with Victory Dances and Terra. As long as there's a Terra that resists first impression from Slitherwing, it seems extreme. I mean, just go Terra Fire, right? Terra Fire is pretty good. You resist Play Rough as well from Mimikyu. You're faster than Crocodile and threaten it with the Leaf Blade. If you're running Hustle, I don't even think you have to run Hustle if you don't really want to. I mean, Ninetales is RU2, so you could run Chlorophyll as well. Like, Sun actually looks legitimately good down here. Sun looks crazy. I don't know if that's going to get Insta-Ban or not, but we'll see. Mousehold is probably a pretty insane hazard control mon as well for the tier. Obviously, Tidy Up is always really cool. Into Population Bomb with your wide lens and everything like that. But I can more so see it being support with just Tidy Up and just the secondary effect of actually being able to sweep a Population Bomb is just like, you know, a secondary effect of using Tidy Up. The main purpose is just to get rid of the hazards. Which I like again, before it's just being a number 8, this tier desperately needed some hazard control. So getting Donphan, Cyclizar, Mousehold, very, very, very big. Talonflame is all very, very, very big for the tier. Excited to see if this mon ends up being something nasty. Hopefully it can break through a Mimikyu, because that's number 3 at usage for a reason. Milotic, very good special physical wall. I wouldn't be, even though I fell on the RU, I wouldn't be surprised if things going how they're going right now, that this mon ends up seeing some more OU usage and maybe eventually being pulled up from there. Of course, I don't know. We don't know when DLC 2 comes out, but we will have. It's definitely not coming out this month, right? We're pretty positive it's not coming out this month. So this is something that for sure it's going to be able to check Crocodile. Again, when you're checking the number 1 usage in the tier, it's great. I like Alolan Muck. Azoth is number 5 in usage. It doesn't have Pursuit though, so that kind of does hurt its viability. Pursuit would be crazy, right? Pursuit for Azoth, Pursuit for Mega, Pursuit for Noivern. You can take the Dracos and you just Pursuit and get like 50% off, plus you poison them with Poison Touch. Being able to tank a hit from Mimikyu is nice. Being able to threaten that with Poison Touch, knock off, and everything as well. Just another mon that kind of just couldn't hang in the. I mean, UU was literally OU, right? Like these are mons that do not hang in the OU tier. Ninetales again kind of talked about how Rain was super good in the OU tier. I mean, excuse me, in OU2, aka UU. And Sun was just not at any point very good than UU right now. It's just not good at all. And also it being faster than Pelipper means that Pelipper comes in and gets up the Rain always. It does have a momentum seeking move in Baton Pass, but because this is 6v6 singles, you're not allowed to use Baton Pass, so you know that would be perfect for it. If you could use Baton Pass as a momentum move, there are ways to get around that. I think they had Baton Pass like complications, there were like complex bans with Baton Pass back in the day, but I remember Z Baton Pass with Pikamuko after Curse was able to work on the ladder even though Baton Pass was banned. Like there was just a lot of things, so they just banned the move whole. But yeah, Ninetales with Sun, I do think obviously Slitherwing being there, it's gonna have a place. Like if anything, there's also Screamtail down there too. Like Sun is definitely gonna have a place in RU again. So being able to get your Ninetales there, big. Quag, Spiker, Toxic Spike, Stealth Rock, right? Because that's all Quags are got right now. Got a whole bunch of good little toys right there. Good little check to Crook, Bisharp, etc. Mimikyu if it's no Woodhammer, things like that. So yeah, definitely on balances. I can see it happening. I like that Shift Tree is there. Not only does it give you another Chlorophyll user alongside Hisui and Lilligant, and you know with Ninetales being there, to set up the sun for them, but also the Toxic Spike lead, the Heat Wave Pokemon as well when it comes to this. Let's get rid of this real quick. Let's look at Shift Tree real quick. Shift Tree. Because obviously you can get up your Tailwind, get your Wind Rider ability, go for knockoff, and go from there. It can be, again, like the Toxic Spike lead, which is pretty... I wish they gave it Spikes, too. I think Spikes would have been really cool, but... Nice little Sun Abuser as well. Kind of similar, though, like, if Slitherwing's so much used, like, it might be worse to run Sun if you're running Slither... If someone else just running a raw Slitherwing, because it's a good Pokemon, because First Impression is just so good, so you're making your team weaker to it, in a sense. I like Talonflame from a tier 2. It's a good little check to Slitherwing. Watch out for Wild Charge, obviously. Also gets Defog as well. So, like, again, all these mons that actually give hazard control for the tier that desperately needs it. When you got Fortress as your top 10 mon, like, what the hell is this, fam? Fortress? I can't remember the last time I thought Fortress was a great Pokemon. Like, it's always had its little stints in, like, ADV OU, Gen 4 OU, Gen 5 OU, right? It's always done the same thing, but I've never thought like, yo, this is a top 10 Pokemon. This damn ball, this mon is about to put in some work, bro. Watch out. Oh, you sent out Heatran, go, Fortress. Show him who's boss. That might have been a bad example because Sturdy Earthquake Max Attack could actually KO Heatran, but whatever. Ain't nobody using that anyway. Just a good Will-O-Wisp support mon. I mean, again, if you look at the tier, this is really strong into the tier. Will-O-Wisp for Crook, Bisharp, Mimikyu, Slitherwing. Like, this is a good support mon that can provide U-turn support. It was always a great NU-RU Pokemon, Talonflame. Yo, it feels really disrespectful to say that after playing with Talonflame in Gen 6. But even now in current Gen 6, it's not even that great of a Pokemon. But Gen 6, that mon was also the GOAT in the tier itself. But yeah, another mon that I'm excited to see how it works in the RU tier. I'm definitely going to be playing RU a lot. I'll still be playing a lot of UU score because UU for me feels like OU right now. We'll also be doing Gliscor Sespa Test run throughout this week and stuff like that too. A little sad that Landorus didn't drop. I wanted to use it. Tinkaton falls from U to RU. I mean, Iron Treads, right? It was, at one point, Tinkaton was the #1 most used Pokemon in UU. It was the best Pokemon as a special Steel type. It beat a Spather down. It beat Noivern down. It beat Gengar's down. Like, it beat all these... I put Noivern up there. But it beat all these top 2 threats, right? With Encore, with Knockoff, with Gigaton Hammer. Even had Swords Dance variants too. Just a good support Pokemon. A really good support Pokemon. Fantastic typing. Some of the best dual typing ever, right? Steel Fairy is literally some of the best dual typing absolutely ever. And it just... it fell off. I mean, Iron Treads, Heatran. Like, why would I use this over those 2 steel types? Literally. Scissor offensively. Literally. But I think it'll be great. I think it'll be great on RU and on balances. Like, it'll be fantastic. Just a good stealth rocker that checks dragons. And a bunch of other types, too, because of its dual typing. So I think it's going to be fantastic. Torterra falls from the UU to the RU tier. I do think that Shell Smash would be good. I think so. I don't see why Shell Smash wouldn't be good in this tier. Torch really freaking good. It doesn't have to worry about Scarf Meowscarada in this tier. It doesn't really have to worry about... I guess technically Rain can still... No, Politoed got banned, right? Or is that NU Bell? Yep, it's RUBL. Perfect. Politoed did get banned. It got banned, I think, from NU and P and RU in the same day. Or was it P and RU in the same day? Very funny. But it's cool. But I do think Shell Smash Torterra actually has a place here. You can use a resistant Terra type. Like, this... It's not like it's fighting Torn every game. It's not like it's fighting against Scarf Meowscarada. I think it has a legitimate spot. Wochen can actually take it on, but maybe some Terra Fairy stuff could be pretty cool as well. Shoot, guy like me about to start running Terra Bug. But Terra Fairy is good too because it lets you resist First Impression as well and Sucker Punch, which is apparently big in this tier. So I'm kind of excited about this. There are Scarfers that do outspeed it. It's not the fastest Pokemon, but maybe if you run Jolly, it can make a difference. So, for instance, Crocodile is what, 311 times 1.5? So, and then where's Torterra's Jolly? I know Adamant Torterra is faster than Dragapult. I actually haven't used a Jolly Torterra at all. Aww. Okay, so it's just slower than Scarf Crook. But what the hell is Crocodile gonna do to you, right? So yeah, that's fine. So Shell Smash Torterra, obviously with some White Herb, I'm sure on some dual screens you can definitely put in some work in this tier. Let's look at what we got for dual screens. We got dual screens Azelf, which means Uxie's down here too. We can use that. Yeah. So like, I mean, Espeon as well. I don't see why dual screens plus this mon. I don't see why Torterra will be bad. I don't see at all why Torterra will be bad. I think it has a place for sure. You can run Terrifier as well, just so you can, again, resist first impression, but also resist the chlorophyll mons that might try to do damage. I could definitely see Torterra working. I might give it a shot again. Especially because it also sets up on the next Pokemon, right? Tyranitar sets up on Hippo too. So Tyranitar is once again falling down to the RU tier. But it wasn't just T-Tar, right? You see Hippo as well. Sand is just not, it just wasn't great. Whoa, you were alright. Sand just wasn't great, man. It's really hard to justify Tyranitar and UU right now, though I think that Banded knockoff got a lot stronger when Garchomp and Garg were gone. But, I mean, Masquerada can kind of do that too without hurting my entire team with Sandstorm damage. I still think Tyranitar actually is decent in UU. I actually think it's pretty good. It's a good anti-Rain mon because it's faster than Pelipper, because Choice Band knockoff just has no switch-ins on Rain. So I actually think it adds a lot of viability in Rain, even with it being, in UU, even with it falling down. But I know that Rain and Balance were a lot of the reasons why this mon kind of fell off. Heatran, Will-O-Wisping and everything, Alomomola being able to start off hits, Garg. When Garg was around, obviously, Garg really hurt T-Tar usage, and I feel like it hasn't recovered. But I really do think that it's a great UU Pokemon. I think it has some viability in OU in some senses. Not a lot. I'm not coping here. But yeah, when it comes to the RU tier, I'm sure I used it in RU recently. I'm sure Dragon Dance can be fine. I mean, if Iron Thorns can do it with Dragon Dance with a 4 times weakness to ground, I'm sure Tyranitar can do it too with a 4 times weakness to fighting. With just Terra, right? One little Terra. I'm about to use both. Too bad you can't Terra 2 Pokemon. Too bad, right? No, I take that back. But being able to use both is cool. Yeah, I think I'll have some spots. I think Choice Band knockoff is a really nice little thing that can work. I'm excited about Sui and Zoroark. Zoroark is a mon that's like sometimes usually banned from NU and sometimes got banned from RU in previous generations too. Not this Zoroark, but regular Zoroark. So it's interesting to see this one that has a better, better resistances, more immunities, just potentially fall down to the RU tier. So this is probably the one I'm most excited to use on offense. I can't wait to see how it works. I gotta re-evaluate some of the thumbnails we're doing for this week because I've been trying to do a lot of my videos ahead of time, a lot of thumbnails ahead of time. So my boy Skarzik, shout out to him, Adam. He draws them. Shout out to Pedro too, doing the intros. They're freaking goats. We're putting a lot of money in the channel right now because, we want to grow. And I feel like if you want to grow, you gotta put in to reap the benefits. And I'm really happy with how the channel is going right now. Hitting 400K is insane. I'm still on that. I know I hit 400K 12 years ago, but I'm still that's wild to me. RU to NEBL, Dreadnought and Florges. Cool. I mean, it looks like offense wasn't that great because you have Slitherwing's first impression, Bisharp, Sucker Punch, Mimikyu, like that. So it makes sense why Shot Smash would go down. Florges falling down is really interesting in this tier. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Sylveon was NU and it's just a little bit better. Yeah, just a little bit better on that side, right? 95-65, whereas Florges has way less HP. It has better defense, but it takes hits way worse because it's less HP. And Sylveon also can, take advantage of Terra Blast as a mono stab if it really wants to, because it's still stab because of Pixelate, and then when it terastallizes, it becomes a stab on that next one, so falls down. From RU to NU, this is very, very, very exciting for me. First off, the big one. Where is it? There you are. All right, let's go through everything. All right, Drifloon is a big one. We'll go through. This is not the big one I was talking about, but whatever. Hell yeah. When it came to NU, hell yeah, Drifloon was a Pokemon we wanted. It was just a mon that deals with fighters in the TO, can deal with Copperajah, can Will-O-Wisp, can Air Slash, Heracross. It was a good mon that we missed out. It's a great spin blocker as well. Though obviously NU has changed quite a bit since this mon was initially there. But I love it as a defogger. I love it as a support mon. It's really annoying with Terra Poison. You can use Fairy too if you really, really want to. Klefki gives us finally a good spiker as well. Obviously, we do have Sand Slash. I don't think Sand Slash is going to last that long in this here. Regular Sand Slash, not alone. We'll talk about that in a second. But a nice little spiker. It's not like it's the greatest spike in the world, but it's a nice check to Gudra too. Just a small check to Gudra. It's a good check to Hoopa as well. A decent check to Jolteon, not the best. It has a lot of competition in spikes though, right? You got both Heracross, you got both Sand Slashes, Heracross as well. You got both Cool Fishes. You have Gligar too. So and have Frostlass. Spikes is not something that this tier is missing at all. But I like the fact that it's a spiker that can threaten like Avalugg as a spinner with Flash Cannon, so that's pretty cool. But I think my favorite drop out of this entire list is Alolan Sandslash. Especially because good steel type, good resistances as well. Spiker that knocks off too. I love its resistances. I just love it about it. Also the fact that like Spadef will easily be able to take on Jolteon to an extent. And I think that Hail actually has, you know, viability. Down here we can actually use Slush Rush. Like these guys can all work together. This is what I'm really excited about. There's nothing with Chilly Reception, unfortunately, because there's no way Slowking in them. Like they're all you. But I actually think Hail actually has a spot in this tier, so I'm excited. I know me and Rabbit were talking about earlier. We're really hyped about that. And then Vikavolt. It's not like we didn't have like Sticky Web down here anyway, but Vikavolt is obviously a better one, right? In terms of what's left, Vikavolt's a pretty solid one that can also Volt Switch. If Vikavolt still had access to Roost, it'd be 100 times better. It'd be 100 times better if it still had access to Roost, because Terra really is, like, Bug Electric is whatever, but Bug Electric with Levitate is nice, and Bug Electric stab offensively, combine that with Fire or Water coverage is just so strong. It's so, or nice. It's just so strong. I think Fairy would be better than that, but especially coming off this Vikavolt's actual attack stats, so I'm really excited to use these guys. I'm really excited to use these guys. We'll definitely be using them going forward. I think I have some thumbnails already made. I just want to use them, especially because, like, you know, some of these monsters recently came back. So that's the hypeness about it. It's crazy that Magneton went from being one of the best mons in the tier at a point to PUBL. The metagame just changed. It shifted so much. The power creep of the metagame just went way the hell up. That's really it, right? It's still good. It's just slow. And the analytics sets are not just be able to do anything, especially with Goodra being allowed in this tier. And it's just, oh, man, it's just a good Pokemon. Same thing with Sneasler, right? Sneasler was freaking tearing it up. Excuse me, Sneasler. Sorry. I'm so sorry. It was freaking tearing it up. Like, NU right now, like, there was a point where Hisuian Sneasel, well, I think was top 10 in usage. But what the introduction of Gligar really hurts. That's the thing for Magneton as well. It can't be able to Volt Switch. And you can Flash once, but still. Scyther just kind of does it right now. Whether it's SD Trailblaze, where it's dual Wing Beat, Swords Dance. I've seen SD Quick Attack, Terra Norma. I know Freeze, I use that as well, and a few other people too. Like, it's just, it doesn't have, as an Eviolite mon, it just doesn't have it right now. Like, it can't break like it did, simply because, like, Gligar is the big thing that really changes that. And Vivillon, or Vivian, however you want to say it. With Goodra being in the tier, it's kind of hard for it to justify being able to click Sleep Powder. It's very difficult because of its Sap Super ability. From NU to PU. Alright, I'm super excited about this. I told you guys how I was sad about Sandslash being gone. Or sad, it was like how it messes up PU because it was the #1 mon in PU. But we got some cool mons. And look, so I'm going to go through the one that's like kind of wild, and there's no way, I don't think Metacham stays, but I don't know. Let's go through everything. We'll go through everything in order. I was going to go through it differently, but, and then for PU to ZU, we'll talk a little bit about some stuff. But the, is Noctowl down there? Oh, Noctowl was already there. All right, so Arbalive. This one's kind of hype. This guy actually has really good special attack, and I think it's, I don't know, I've been playing a lot of PU lately as well. Because the power level is so much weaker, I can see this mon being pretty freaking good. I think Farigiraf is the better normal type, right? And I think Farigiraf is just high-key broken in that tier. But just being able to spam the Hyper Voices, the Earth Powers, like, it has a good move pool. It has a really good move pool. And I feel like you could easily get away with some sort of sub Giga Drain set for sure with the CD. Sorry, Giga Drain. Something like this. Obviously, you can run Terra, Fire if you really want to. That way you don't have to worry about the other Fire type attackers in the tier. It's really, isn't it crazy that Chansey's PU? This was a mon that was OU with Eviolite, and not a lot changed besides the fact they can't have Toxic. But that's big as well. And the hazards are also spikes are everywhere. So it's crazy, but this is cool. Nice little Electro check in the tier, which I kind of like. I don't know. It's a fun. It's fun mon. The grass types are alright. They're pretty decent in the PU tier from everything I've been by playing, right? And if you look right here, like subbing on Weezing or subbing on Weezing coming in, Morpeko is like the #1 most used mon in the tier, or not #1, but it's like with the best mon in the tier. That's what people are saying. I think it's Farigiraf personally. And I mean, versus top 10 users, if I get a sub up with Arbaliva, Sandslash isn't there. A 2-hit KO Weezing easily. Morpeko is something I definitely beat with, you know, even Harvest plus like Citrus sub. You could definitely use sub Citrus with this Giga Drain set. Definitely beat Morpeko with that, unless it knocks me off, because then you can't Harvest. If they knock off an item that if they kick knockoff on you and you already use the item, then they don't knock it off. But if they knock off the item and you had it, and then they knock it off and you have Harvest, you won't be getting it back. So that's cool. But sub seems cool in that regard. Yeah, I mean, it won't be able to really break Articuno, but that's okay, I think. And you just have teammates for that. But sub seems pretty cool in this tier. Then you have the Bombardier. Honestly, one of the better Farigiraf answers, right? Not getting blasted by Psyshock or Psychic. I guess Spadef is something you'd probably end up using on this thing, right? If you really wanted to, because you have the knockoff. That's strong attack too. You can't Sucker Punch Farigiraf because of its Armor Tail ability. But knockoff, taunt, U-turn, Stealth Rock. Nice little Stealth Rocker for the tier. I think that's a good win for the tier. Clawitzer sounds broken. Like, I know this tier has like, I know every tier is just weird when it comes to the power creep, but like the mons that here that look like legitimately busted from me, for perspective, I'll put both of them. I think Pixelmon as well is pretty crazy. Like Medicham didn't end up getting banned from PU, but Pixelmon's a little bit different because it can actually U-turn, whereas Medicham has to come in and commit to what it's doing. Now, usually with, you know, the pure power mon that is Medicham, that's okay. But in this case, I feel like these two just are mons that just would not be very easily switched into. You do have Weezing, that's about it. You lost your Sandslash. You do have the dog, Houndstone, Fizdev dog for a coat could be cool. Fluffy, excuse me. I think the most exciting mon on this list that I think is really cool for PU, especially with I'm not sure what will happen to these mons. We'll see what ends up happening. I feel like this is just such a nuke, right? You don't really have nukes like Clawitzer in this tier. There's no Cryogonal to be able to check. It's just a mon that you can't really switch into. It's slow though. That'll probably be its downfall. I guess Tauros is technically a nuke. Like that'll be its downfall. The fact that it's slow, because it is an extremely hard Pokemon to switch into. Base 120 with Mega Launcher, it's insane. Like it's gonna pick up kills. I mean, Poliwrath is already top 10. You already have Articuno. Both of them can take hits as well. And if you hit Poliwrath, you have to go for either Dragon Pulse, Terra Dragon, or Aura Sphere to do something. And then obviously that's not gonna deal with Articuno. Articuno threatens you with Freeze Dry. It runs Spadef as well, so you can eat the hit too. But yeah, Pixelmon is gonna be interesting though. This one in particular with Scarf, with Defiant as well. I think it's going to be a nice one. There are screens a lot in this tier, though, and Carbink can kind of set up on it, and even Farigiraf can eat one hit, so that'll be interesting as well. Scarf Haunter is also something that is used, so it is faster, and DD can also run a Choice Scarf as well. Maybe I'm just wrong, like, when I think about it, but I have to, like, kind of change my perspective on what power is in lower tiers. I'm excited for both Golems, both just good rockers. Yeah, I wish they got spikes, like every other ground type in this damn game, but sturdy rockers, cool. That's kind of it when it comes to this mon. Articuno can check with Rock Blast. It can check if it's at there. You have Cryogonals right there too. Yeah, that's kind of it. Same thing with this mon. Though I will say that in terms of ground types in this tier, you have Dugshaw, which doesn't come in on Earthquake. Whiscash is the big one when it comes to a ground type that could deal with this. But other than that, a little hard to switch into. It's interesting. Maybe we'll do something in this tier. Maybe it will. Maybe it actually will. Hatcham is cool. Hazards are, again, extremely good. Again, with Sandslash being gone, maybe it'll be different, but obviously a cool mon that can bounce it back. For that, Lavani. Ooh, I used that recently on Rabia's channel. We used Screenshot Lavani. It was very fun. I can't really see offensive doing anything, but Sticky Webber. Another decent Sticky Webber for the tier. Ludicolo, I think Manual Rain is actually pretty solid in this tier. You have Volbeat to set it up, or Lemize. You have Beartic with Slush Rush and obviously Swift Swim. Then you also have Golduck down there too. So there are some decent rain abusers. So Ludicolo just adds another one to the Manual Rain. Very fun mon to use. Muck is cool. I like Muck. Nice little fighting resist in the tier. Has access to knockoff, which I think is pretty cool. Obviously, poison touch plus knockoff. Like, I get rid of your item and I have a 30% chance to poison you. That's not nice. So I think that actually adds some nice, like, especially with you run Black Sludge, Probably Terra Dark or Fairy. Fairy to resist fighting still, but also not be weak to Psychic, or Dark to, you know, get stabbed on your knockoff or something like that. Because you could definitely, this is something like people were running for a long time. It did just get Curse back as well, which is cool. But Protect knockoff. You can run Drain Punch too. You can also run if you don't want this, you can also run Poison Jab, which is Protect, because, you know, gets back its health and everything as well. So I think it'll be a nice little check to things. I think this is one of the more fun ones that kind of is nice that it replaced Sand Slash. So obviously we lost our lead Sand Slasher, but now we have an Earth Eater Mon that can set up on Whiscash, that sets up Spikes and Stealth Rock. And that's kind of what the Earthworm's going to do. I don't think Coil is going to be that broken. Kind of just smashed by Terrify for Rigoroth. Can't actually KO it back. Shadow Balls from Haunter still do a lot of damage. Charizard's down there too. But it is a good check to like Morpeko and a Tauros, although you have to worry about close combat. So yeah, it's cool. I think it's just going to be a fantastic Spiker and Stealth Rocker for the tier, and just add something in that regard. And then we have Rotom. Oh, I nicknamed you. That's illegal. We got the Rotom coming out too. How many Rotoms we got down here now? Was that 3? Ah, just 2. I felt like Raichu was Rotom. Rotom Frost and regular Rotom. Good Ghost type. You can spin block. I personally like Sableye a little bit better as a spin blocker, just because it also has Encore. So if you try to go for it again, you have the Will-O-Wisp too. Priority Recover and stuff. But offensively, it's pretty cool. It kind of feels like Rotom's the one that you typically see in NU. So it's cool to see that, you know, this looks like NU even though it's PU. This actually looks like NU's Power Creep, right? Appleton was a great Pokemon in NU, but then it ended up falling down here. You got a Bombston as well, another good Pokemon that were in NU, Articuno, then they all fell down. Braviary, Bombardier, like all these mons are kind of just the rejects of NU. I just feel like, again, if this many Pokemon are all falling, it's just the same tier all over again, in a sense. But it has a good speed tier, which is important, and can Convulse around. It's not weak to rocks like Rotom Frost is, so its Scarf is not terrible. There are a lot of dark types here, right? Like Sneasel came down too. Sneasel looks really cool as well with Boots or Eviolite. Very good speed tier in this tier as well. Let's start it by speed when it comes to the... Oops. Sort by speed. When it comes to this tier, right? Oof. Was that number 5? The number 5 most fast mon. Number 5 most fast mon. Pretty wild. Wait, did they unban Hisui and Sneasel? Oh, it's not even PUBL. Hold on. They might have unbanned some Pokemon. This is something we want to see. PU. Metacham Suspect. I'm gonna check real quick because maybe they did. All PU rather than shifts. Yashier. I guess maybe they did and they didn't write it, or they just didn't like follow the same thing as last time. Because some of the PU, sometimes when they get big tier shifts like this, they end up unbanning the ban mod just because they want to see how they work in this particular metagame. Because, for instance, there was a time in Oras where Mega Alakazam was considered the most broken, or yeah, Oras. And then like Altaria at a point shifted. And it's not like anything changed, right? People just started using new things. So like in this case, right, people started using new things. So maybe, what is it, PUBL right there? Maybe Hisui and Sneasel wouldn't be broken because this mon is there. Interesting though. I felt like it would. So it's not PUBL right now. Interesting. Cool. Magneton as well. So maybe they either unlocked them or they again did not remember that these mons got banned. And they didn't put them. And Victory Bell, Manual Sun can be okay, I guess. I guess it could be okay. You got Charizard, right? Lavani. You have all these PU rejects type of thing. Below PU, excuse me, ZU rejects. Nothing wrong with the ZU tier. Though I don't typically talk about it. I mean, look at all the mons that are down there. Again, I think Ditto falling down to the lowest tier is very good because that means you can use in any tier. Carbonable is really sad, that mon. I think with Terra it's pretty cool. If an ice fighting type had speed, oh my god, that mon would be great, right? If an ice fighting type had speed, that mon would be the go. Midcargo, Gary, I actually think it's pretty decent in PU. So we recently did a video on that. I like an Arbok stay PU too. But just a bunch of mon. Quaxwell falling down is crazy. Like that mon was like the PU spinner, right? That mon was the PU spinner. But damn, that's wild. PU is super changed. But I mean, if you look at the top 10 of the ZU tier real quick, I'll put this right. Move this thing over real quick. And then we look at the comparison real quick as well. So Squawkabilly. What you doing there, Billy? Squawkabilly. Just look at it comparatively. There you go. You got Billy down there. Anything crazy that kind of added on? Not just a bunch of... There's no fairy types up there, so Dash would probably be decent. Could check Monferno really, really well, which is pretty cool. Macargo obviously can Shell Smash. I'm sure the boys Phalanx could do something too. There's Noctowl, which might legitimately be one of the worst Pokemon to come back. I did a video with Rabia too. Mischievous is definitely a solid Eviolite-mon. It's going to find itself in the top 10 most likely, especially with like hazard stack teams that run like Cacturne and things like that. Could even, like, look at these. I could definitely see Cacturne being better than most of these mons. It's crazy that Banet's number 10, yo. Yo, congratulations, Banet. It's a damn shame that you got Poltergeist now and you didn't get it when you were a Mega Pokemon. If you got it when you were a Mega Pokemon, oof, that'd make a crazy difference. But yeah, we'll definitely see some more of these Evolved Pokemon on the top 10 list. I think Mischievous, though, will be one of the Eviolite Pokemon that definitely goes out. But what do you guys think about all the tier changes? Obviously, I kind of like always struggle off Zeo because I don't play enough of it. And Zeo to me is just like Pokemon that I'm using PU anyway. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below. Leave a like, sub to the channel if you enjoyed. I'll see ya in the next video. Peace.